Now a month removed from the really massive gameplay update that changed just about every hero in Deadlock, it feels like we're starting to kind of creep into that eerie silence in the development cycle that usually signals to me that we could be getting a major update pretty soon. Hey everyone, this is Connor here at Dead Unlocked, and usually the silence to me means that devs are hard at work, really kind of taking a stab at some big systems changes to the game. And so I want to talk today about what those changes could be, kind of what the implications of them are, and why we should expect an update in summer of 2026. So let's start with walking through kind of the historical precedent of the last, year and a half of Deadlock development. So in January, February 2025, we get the map update, obviously going from 4 lanes to 3, and we also get Calico, Holiday, Viper, and Sinclair added. It's hard to believe that was just the beginning of 2025. In May, we get the shop update that obviously overhauls all the items and then kind of brings the game into, in a lot of ways, its current state. In August 2025, we get the 6 hero update. Then obviously we get Victor, Doorman, all that kind of that group. In quarter 3 and quarter 4 of 2025, the game really goes silent in a lot of ways. There's a lot of toggling, a lot of back-end things, a lot of the kind of same silence I'm describing now that then leads into a January 2026 Old Gods New Blood major update, and then obviously the subsequent kind of March 2026 balance overhaul that I just mentioned. So it feels like right now we're kind of entering into the same phase that the game was in that quarter 3, quarter 4 of 2025, where some big systems could be worked on. So that's why, again, I think it's worthwhile to talk about a summer 2026 update in conjunction with the fact that I believe a lot of devs are kind of on a holiday for Valve right now, which again, I think is very similar in tracking to the last time we talked about this, where a lot of those Valve employees typically take their vacations in quarter 4. A lot of them seem to in kind of, late quarter 1 as well. So again, it just all piles up in this timeline wise to suggest that we really could be getting something in the summer. But if we are going to get a summer 2026 update, what could be in it? Well, we've talked about a lot of different possibilities. I made a video about like 10 things we could expect for the year, for example, all based on kind of leaks and rumors. I don't think that all of those are certainly not going to happen in this next update, but there are a few things that I think are being most worked on right now that I want to talk about. So the number one is kind of a PvE of some kind. I don't know if we'll get this in the summer or not, but it's very clear that devs are working on something PvE oriented. We've talked about the possibility of it looking a lot like a Risk of Rain 2, and we've shared some images of that map. The next thing being this kind of cursed item shop or something to do with potentially a way to alter items in the main game. But the main thing I want to talk about and kind of the real thrust of what I think should be coming in this summer 2026 update is a continuation of the final art pass that happened when we got the obviously major update, the Old Gods New Blood update in quarter 1. I think that really kind of reached its final conclusion here, which really could signal an open beta for the game. And I can already imagine people are really sick of me talking about the game's open beta. I think I was probably talking about it, coming into open beta in summer of 2025. So I have been wrong numerous times on this. I'm really willing to own that, but I want to kind of talk through my logic with saying this because this does feel like we're in a different time in the game's development. But again, I've been on that hopium for a long time, so you can disregard this if you want. But the main thrust of what I'm talking about here is it feels like the things most on the table have to do with the game's final art pass. So a lot of recent leaks have talked about cosmetics, how there are sprays, hero skins. A Vindicta swimsuit skin was kind of leaked and talked about recently. A Dynamo spray with like math equations on a chalkboard has been talked about, and a lot of hero remodels to go along with that. So we think about what that is. Like, what is that in the development process? That is taking assets that are kind of blocks and cells that are already designed to do what you want them to do, like the hero's model and things like that, map models around the map as well. We're taking those cells, we're designing them, we're making them look pretty. We're doing, again, what I would call a quote-unquote final art pass. And to me, you usually do this late in the game's development cycle. You do this right before a release when you're kind of ready to finally polish the game. And this is kind of the weird duality with playing Deadlock right now is for folks that have played Deadlock for a while, at least, a couple months, you'll realize the real like nuance and polish of this game. And then you'll turn a corner and you'll go into a room and it'll be a gray box with 4 minions in it. And it's this really like crazy juxtaposition of like the game's clearly not done, but the game's also really clearly close to being done, as at least as it pertains to map art. And the same thing can be said about heroes. Like I play a little bit of Holiday, and I love this hero, such a cool hero to play. And then you look at her gun, and it's like, this just feels like a gray box. This just feels like an extension of something that's not quite finished. And that's how a lot of things in Deadlock feel. And I really, to me, this is the most logical next step for the game, and something that if they really are working on cosmetics, a final art pass, map, hero polish, hero remodels, all the things kind of bundled into that, I really don't think you'd be working on that if you weren't going to release the game in an open beta or maybe some kind of full release. And listen, y'all, I'm sure everyone here is sick of me talking about the game's open beta or when it's going to release. I've made so many videos about that in the past, it's crazy. But again, to me, and maybe you feel differently about this, but if devs really are working on hero skins, sprays, those things, those are the primary kind of monetization arm of the game. Sure, it might have a battle pass, there might be an in-game currency you can buy, or other ways that Deadlock monetizes itself in the future, but cosmetics, skins, sprays, those kinds of things, trinkets, designs to the hideout, I mean, you can go down a laundry list. Those things all to me are things that you would not be working on in a closed alpha state. Like, you would never, in my mind at least, release cosmetics for a game that not everyone can play. Those are things you release when you can fully monetize it and you open up the game for everyone to play, for everyone to buy your new skins for your new heroes, right? So this to me just feels like if this is true, that these are really being worked on, the implications, as Dennis Reynolds would say, are that the game has got to be coming out shortly after that, I would certainly think. But to play devil's advocate a bit here, just because we've seen things leaked or rumored or talked about doesn't mean they're coming to the live version of the game, let alone coming to the live version of the game in like the next 2 months. So a lot of Valve employees are on vacation right now, at least from what I've seen on social media and kind of from what I've seen talked about a little bit. So that could easily be contributing to the kind of quote unquote radio silence as well. But the biggest point I want to make here is that I don't think we will ever reach a content drought for as long as the one we had at kind of the tail end of 2025 and that Q3, Q4 period before the Old Gods New Blood update. I think devs are very keen on kind of pushing the accelerator from here. It's very clear that devs are plugged into the game. I don't know if anyone followed not this week's DLNS, but the week before, a team Abrahams used a bug exploit and Yoshi had it patched within like 20 minutes. So again, devs are really clearly plugged into like the micro of this game, like the community of this game, even boiling down to like an esports event weekly with a, you know, like a 4-figure prize pool. Like devs are tuning into that every week because they really do care about this game, I think, and they are keen on developing it quickly. So I don't think we see any massive breaks. I think cosmetics, if they're being worked on, have huge implications for the game's potential release. But at the end of the day, these are just my thoughts. We're not grasping at straws right now. Like there's no new news to report on. I did see something about like a hero being worked on, potentially based on some old fan-made artwork from 2025. Again, things like that. It's hard to know how much stock to buy into these things right now because of the kind of blank slate of where we're at. But in any case, I think we should absolutely expect a summer 2026 update. May, June, July, or August is a bit of a question mark, but I would think that probably May or June we get something pretty big for Deadlock. Let me know what you all think though, and thank you all so much for tuning in as always. I'll keep you all updated. Listen, I work as a collegiate esports director as well, and I'm a professor, and so April is always a really hard month for me to deliver content. It's not for lack of wanting to. I really would love to be making content, but I have a couple teams in conference championships right now. I've got a couple teams that are going to make nationals, so really exciting on that side of it, but it does take me away from here. But in any case, thank you all for the patience. Thank you all for tuning in, and from our house to yours, we'll see you all next time here at Dead Unlocked.